Today we're joined by SJSU Online student Kay Patel, who's going to discuss how SJSU Online is helping her pursue her passion and purpose. So Kay, looking forward to our conversation today. To begin with, can you talk a little bit about some of the formative experiences that you've had that really shaped who you are and led you to become an SJSU Online student?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Kay Patel, and I'm a current student in the Educational and Community Leadership Program through SJSU Online. What drew me to this program was its unique blend of flexibility, purpose, and a deep commitment to equity and social impact. I've always been passionate about education, not just as a system, but as a tool for empowerment and lasting change. SJSU Online offered an opportunity for me to not only grow as a leader, but to continue working and staying connected to my community. This program has truly helped me align my academic journey, which I am a non-traditional second-time returning college student, with my long-term goals, and to advocate for students, support access, and to help build stronger, more inclusive learning environments.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like it's just really helping provide that balance, like you said, of just like you said, allowing you to, pursue those goals that you have, take on leadership or develop those leadership capacities, while also, like you said, maintaining a connection to your community. And you're specifically, you talked about being in the Educational and Community Leadership Program. How is that program specifically enabling you to make progress towards those hopes, dreams, and goals that you have?
Yeah, so I applied to SJSU Online because I needed the flexibility, but I also wanted substance. As a working adult with a full-time job, traditional in-person programs weren't an option for me. And so SJSU offered both convenience and meaning. I was drawn to educational and community leadership programs specifically because it didn't just teach theory, it asked us to apply what we learn in our real communities. One tip I give to students considering this program is to choose a capstone or a project topic that you're truly passionate about. For me, exploring how academic advising impacts first generation college students wasn't just an assignment, it was personal. That connection is what kept me motivated and made my learning feel very real and purposeful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like how one, you talked about you use these words that I think sometimes people might think don't really align, but you talked about like having the convenience, but then also like the depth at the same time, or like, the flexibility and the convenience, but also like the depth and the substance. Because I think a lot of times you might imagine if something is like really convenient or it's super flexible, maybe you don't get as much of that depth or it's not as meaningful, but it sounds like it's really struck a nice balance for you to be able to have both. And like you said, I think within your program specifically, having that balance of not just learning the theory, but being able to apply that and see what that looks like in practice, and you being able to apply it directly to something that's really meaningful for you personally, and I imagine professionally too, I think is really cool that you're able to do that. I know you've also taken on some leadership roles while you're enrolled in the program. I know you've been like a teaching assistant, for example. You're one of our student ambassadors. From those vantage points that you've had as you've gone through the program academically, what are a couple of insights that you would like to share with current and future SJSU Online students?
Yeah, so being a student ambassador and instructional student assistant gave me insight into both peer experiences, but also the behind the scenes work that makes online learning successful. As an ISA, I was able to facilitate group discussions and support students through challenging assignments, which reminded me that leadership isn't about perfection. It's about presence and encouragement, something that I know I previously was lacking in my college experience. And to be able to find a space and opportunity to provide that was very meaningful for me. One insight I'd share is don't be afraid to step up, even if you feel unsure. I almost honestly did not apply to be an ISA because I thought, who would listen to me or take me seriously, especially being a student like in the program, right? But taking that leap gave me a platform to connect with students going through similar struggles. And I'm so thankful for that experience. And now also serving as an ambassador to continue moving forward with that same intention, to be supportive, presence, build community, and remind others that they're not alone on this journey. Sometimes all it takes is one conversation with an individual to help someone feel seen. And I'm honored to play even a small part in that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm grateful that you decided to put yourself out there ultimately and take on those leadership roles in our community. I think that's great advice to pass along to other people as well, just to really put yourself out there, try. That's how we're all going to learn and grow, even if we maybe don't see ourselves as like an expert in a certain role or a certain capacity. And like you said, I think that mindset is perfect in that it's not about perfection, but it's about showing up and being willing to adapt and learn and grow. And role model like you've been doing in these roles as well. All those things really play a part in kind of defining what leadership looks like. So now I know you're closing in on the end of your program and you recently secured a job offer as you're finishing your degree. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
How has what you've learned in your program prepared you for that opportunity? Or what do you see yourself kind of applying as you're transitioning out of SJSU Online and into the next chapter for yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, accepting a new job offer before even graduating was a huge milestone. What I learned through this program, especially in some of the classes that focused on organizational change, leadership, communication, and even community engagement, that all directly shaped how I approach the interview process and how I carry myself at work. It helped me build confidence, articulate my values, and approach leadership with empathy. I found myself drawing directly from the class discussions we'd have, or on conflict resolution, or even equity centered leadership and systems thinking during my entire interview process. For example, during interviews, I spoke about the leadership reflection I completed as part of my coursework and how that helped me identify what my core values were. That honest self awareness resonated with the hiring panel. We had some great conversations that came from it. And what stood out to employers wasn't my resume, it was the way I communicated my growth and my purpose. This program gave me those tools to show up as someone who can lead with both heart and strategy. I truly feel prepared to make a difference, not just in a role, but in the broader mission to support access and belonging in educational spaces. So, my tip really is don't underestimate the assignments. They're more than grades. I think sometimes as students, it's hard not to just focus on completion of an assignment or on a grade, but they're practice for real world conversations that you're going to have and for those leadership moments. So, definitely utilize those assignments as a means of reflecting on yourself and kind of what purpose and motivation that is serving for you.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, just as you were kind of reflecting on the whole experience with me just now. Um, yeah, I think it was just really great to hear how not only is this program prepared you for the role that you're going into, but like you said, it prepared you really as you were going into just the job search process, the application and interview process. Because of course, like you noted, while organizations are of course looking for people who can, meet the needs and the skills and the requirements of the positions themselves, ultimately organizations are made up of people. And so you want to find the right people for those types of roles too, who have the good sense of who they are, a good sense of their values, what their strengths are, what their limitations are, where they can grow, how they can collaborate, how they can adapt, all those sorts of things. And it sounds like you gained a lot of that as you were going through it, making the most out of the courses and the assignments and kind of reflecting on yourself and your experience as a whole as you were going through the whole program. So yeah, thanks for kind of recapping all that for us and tying it up in a nice bow. And I'm glad that, it resulted in kind of an ideal ending for you as you're coming up on graduating and transitioning on to your next role. So just want to thank you, Kay, for just taking the time to share your experiences with us. Thank you to our viewers, as always, for watching. If you want to learn more about SJSU Online, feel free to visit our website and get in contact with our enrollment